William Carey, born 1761 in England, died 1834, and he became known as the father of modern missions. He went to India as a Baptist missionary, and his wife wasn't very keen about that. She ended up dying after they buried their 2 children, and it was a miserable time for him. But William Carey was trying to tell people about the one God who loves people, who's paid the price for their guilt and shame, and he offers to forgive them and adopt them as his children. And he met with nothing but resentment and opposition and all kinds of obstacles put in his way from the British. Not the Indians, the British. And so, for those dutchies here today, you might go, yeah, we told you so. In order to get around this, he became Dutch. And he was protected by Dutch law and was able to continue to evangelise because Britain had passed a law forbidding him from preaching to Indians. Which, by the way, toward the end of William Wilberforce's political career, he changed that law to allow him to preach. Anyway, William Carey lived at a time where the practice of sati was done. That's not something you have on spicy food. It's when a husband dies, and in Indian culture they don't bury them, they cremate them on what's called a pyre, which is an open fire. And sati is the practice that in the next life he will need his wife. So they would take his widow alive and throw her onto the fire. And this was unquestioned in Indian culture as the practice known as sati. William Carey, here's an etching depicting this practice. William Carey said, "This is not right." And he argued for years that this is not right. And eventually, the Indian government made it illegal. Now you might think, well, what's a preacher got to do with this? Well, he should be out there preaching the gospel. He should be out there planting churches. And this is the point of my second story. When you get who God is, your care isn't just for those who are redeemed. Your care is for all people, no matter where they might be found. And William Carey translated the Bible into Hindi and then Sanskrit and the other languages of the Indian people. And one by one, his translator came to Christ, who was a Hindu. He came to Christ as a result of working with him in the translation. Then other people came to Christ. Then other people came to Christ. And then they realised, we've been translating this. It took him 7 years to translate it. We've been translating this, but Indian people can't read. So we need to teach Indian people how to read so they can read God's word in their own language. And so they read God's word in their own language. And William Carey set up schools to teach Indians how to read. Then they said, but we need teachers who can teach in the schools. So he set up a university to teach the liberal arts in India. And that university still functions today, I believe. As a result of him showing his care for Indian people, it's attributed that today 350 million Indians can trace their Christianity back to this man and his care for them in that day. See, if you ask me what's my vision, don't ask me for a 5-year plan. Ask me and then expect an answer that says, I'm hoping 200 or 300 years after I'm dead, seed has been sown into this ground here of this community that will cause there to be a church so unimaginably good that people will write about these days as when it all began.